Dear students, good morning to all of you. And today we are going to discuss, sorry, organic plant nutrition. So when we talk of plant nutrition, it is uptake, translocation and accumulation and further synthesis of ions in the plant. They remove, for example, nitrogen in the form of ammonium or nitrate ions, and then it is translocated in the plant system, and ultimately it is used to synthesize nitrogenous compound in the plant, maybe protein, maybe RNA, maybe DNA. But sometimes plants also remove nutrients, particularly nitrogen, in organic forms, in molecular forms, in the form of amino acids, enzymes, and many other compounds. So that particular organic nitrogen is directly taken up by crops or plants, particularly under nitrogen-starved environment where ammonical and nitrate nitrogen is not sufficient to support the plant growth. Under those circumstances, plants also take up nitrogen in organic forms. So it has been proved by several experiments and several people, particularly in temperate areas. If you see, certain grasslands are there, certain forest lands are there, and certain mixed lands are there where you have bushes, trees, forests, but they are under temperate conditions. So in temperate conditions, decomposition of organic matter is very, very slow. If decomposition of organic matter is very, very slow, that means nitrogen in mineral form is not sufficient to support the plant growth. So under scarcity of mineral nitrogen, plants take up organic nitrogen also. If you see vegetation of forests in temperate areas, they are very thick, very tall, variety of plants are there in the temperate regions, and big forest areas are also there. That means some organic nitrogen is getting absorbed by the plants, by those plants. So today we will discuss all these issues. And interestingly, it behaves, this organic nitrogen that is absorbed by the plant, it behaves same way as your inorganic nitrogen. In many soils of tropical, subtropical and temperate areas, the quantity of organic nitrogen is similar to inorganic nitrogen pool in soils. You will see it. So actually, we need to go into the details of this. So you see, there are two kinds of nutrition. One is mineral nutrition, where plants remove nutrients in inorganic forms or in ionic forms. And organic nutrition is also there, where plants remove nitrogen in molecular forms. So actually, we are going back to humus theory. And if you see what humus theory has said, it was proposed by Albrecht Thayer in 1809. And he suggested beneficial use of plant and animal manures, and plant feed upon substances similar to them. That is why it means their body is like this. Humus was the chief nutrient for plants. This was proposed by Thayer, that organic matter is broken into small pieces and then plant take up the same thing. So that was humus theory, taken up by roots and converted to plant materials. Did not recognize the elemental nature of the nutrients. So ultimately, it was also not agreed by many people, and it was demolished later by Liebig, you know about it. But at the same time, a lot of people worked on plant nutrition. Where from this plant is growing? Is it atmospheric carbon dioxide? Is it water? Is it mineral? What are essential to make a plant? What components are essential to make up a plant? So in those lines, work of Boussingault, I am quoting here, 1802 to 1882. He said carbon in plants was derived from the air. Soil provided only a small part of the total plant food. So this point was important from his side. First time he reported that soil provided only a small part of total plant food. though this small part was indispensable, supplying nitrogen and the constituent contained in ash. So he said that constituents contained in ash means minerals. So minerals, including nitrogen, are taken up by plants from soil. These minerals are coming from soil. So he gave some suggestion over the humus theory. Now, later on, this humus theory was broken by Justus von Liebig, and he wrote a paper, Chemistry in its Application to Agriculture and Physiology, 1840, and he demolished the humus theory. And he made some certain statements like, number one, most of the carbon in plant comes from carbon dioxide of air. Hydrogen and oxygen derived from water. So up to some extent, he was correct in this statement. And then phosphates necessary for seed formation, correct. Alkaline metals needed for neutralization of acids formed by plants, partly it was wrong. Plants absorb everything from soil indiscriminately, but the roots release what the plant does not need, partially true, but not wholly true. Plants absorb nitrogen as ammonium, which they obtain from the air, soil, or manure. So overall, he was proponent of mineral theory of nutrition. He suggested that nutrients are taken up in ionic form or mineral forms. Now, if you see the forms of the minerals removed by plants or in plant uptake, so you can see there are cation which are having three positive charge. So example is ferric ion, and cation with two charge are calcium, magnesium. They are macronutrient, and in micronutrient, this iron or ferrous, manganese, zinc, copper, nickel, they are taken in divalent form. You can see here, then monovalent form, cation, K plus ammonical ion, these are positively charged, and you got anion, nitrate, phosphate, with one charge, and then -2 charge anion, HPO4 sulfate, and molybdenate. Chloride has one negative charge, and see boric acid. It has no charge, it has 0 charge. So therefore, boric acid is absorbed in molecular form, not in ionic form. The preferred form is boric acid. So that means plant have some exceptions to take up the nutrient. Not all nutrients are taken in ionic form. This boron is a case. So you can see this very important uptake of nitrogen in organic form. So this is published in Weil and Brady book. Some of you might be having it. And page number 608 to 609, you can read, where it talks about dissolved organic nitrogen, DON and SON, soluble organic nitrogen. Dissolved organic nitrogen and soluble organic nitrogen are not the same. They are different, but many times, many people take them synonymous, but they are not same. Let us see what are the differences in these. And these are the forms which are taken up by plants. These are organic form rather. So let us see in detail some references on DON and SON. Nature, significance, and analysis of SON for agricultural soil. So this paper is already published in Soil Biology and Biochemistry. Focus on natural ecosystems. Van Kessel et al. Dissolved organic nitrogen and overlooked pathway of nitrogen loss from agricultural system. So it is lost from agricultural system the way inorganic nitrogen is lost. Means it can be lost by leaching. So let us see what is dissolved organic nitrogen, DON. Modern analytical tools have now shown conclusively means it is a fact now. It is not doubtful. Conclusively that plant uptake and leaching losses in both natural and agroecosystem involve nitrogen containing organic compounds. So they can be taken up by plant. Plant uptake is there and leaching losses are also there. These compounds either actually exist Dissolved. Dissolved means soluble, dissolved, solubilized, dissolved in the soil solution. So they can be part of the soil solution or can be easily extracted out of the soil samples using water or simple mild salt solutions. So it proves that they are soluble in water. They are soluble in water and they are in the soil solution. Soluble organic nitrogen is soil nitrogen that is extracted from the soil using water. One can use water to extract the SON, KCl, electro ultra filtration, potassium sulfate, calcium chloride, or any other extractant can be used to extract the soluble organic nitrogen. Dissolved organic nitrogen is defined as the fraction of SON. Now you can see difference in DON and SON. DON, dissolved organic nitrogen, is defined as the fraction of SON which is collected in situ using lysimeter or suction cup among other devices and where no extractant is used. That is dissolved organic nitrogen, which is a fraction of SON. Means whatever dissolved organic nitrogen is there and SON is there, most of them will leach and they can be collected by lysimeter, or in the laboratory they can be extracted by suction cup artificially. No extractant is required. So that is your SON. Dissolved organic nitrogen is defined as the fraction of SON. Fraction of SON. In the literature, however, the terms SON and DON as defined here are used interchangeably. Often the term DON is used when soluble organic nitrogen was obtained with an extractant. But as a student, you need to remember that they are different. They are different. And for more clarity, you can see this picture. Dissolved organic nitrogen, DON. So DON is a portion of SON. Portion of SON in the above picture you can see. The DON generally accounts for between 0.1 and 3% of the total N in soils. A pool size similar to that of mineral nitrogen, ammonical and nitrate nitrogen. So you can see if it is the relative content of DON and SON in total organic nitrogen. So the whole circle, whole ball, this ball shows you that this is total organic nitrogen. In this, you get SON is this much of fraction of SON, soluble organic nitrogen. And in this is your DON. DON is very small fraction, which is between 0.1 and 3% of the total nitrogen in soil. This is 1.1 and 3%. A pool size similar to that of mineral nitrogen. So in this, DON is more important. Where organic manures used arable soils to grassland, DON contents are often considerably higher than those of mineral nitrogen. You can see in grassland, the quantity, the proportion of DON is higher than the mineral nitrogen. That means mineral nitrogen is not enough to support the plant growth. Then this DON will be removed or taken up by the plants. The nitrogen mobilized from the litter of some forest species may have DON is to inorganic nitrogen ratios of 10:1 or higher. So you can see under forest conditions, it can be much higher than the inorganic nitrogen because DON is to inorganic nitrogen ratios may be 10:1. So that means it is definitely taken up by forest plants. Now, let us see plant uptake of DON. In nitrogen-limited ecosystems, strongly acidic infertile soils or organic soils, DON may be primary source of absorbed nitrogen. It is the primary source, not the inorganic nitrogen. This helps explain the fact that plant growth in forest species is considerably greater, although inorganic nitrogen is limited. You can underline this point. Now question comes that what are the compounds which are part of DON? Part of DON. So these are low molecular weight compounds that are amino acids. So amino acids are taken up by plants directly and may be taken up directly by plant roots, or they may be assimilated through mycorrhizal association. So in forest areas, in grassland, such areas, you can have mycorrhizal association with the plant roots, and they can also help in the assimilation of this organic nitrogen by plants. They help in the transfer of nitrogen, organic nitrogen, to the plant. Now, microbial utilization. This DON is also used by microbes. So low molecular weight DON compounds can be transported into microbial cells for direct assimilation. So microbes also consume both kind of nitrogen, inorganic as well as organic. And then once inside the microbial cell, these enzymes decompose these DON compounds, and the nitrogen is used to make proteins and other components needed by the microbe. So it is plant uptake as well as microbial uptake is there for dissolved organic nitrogen. If the nitrogen from the DON exceeds the immediate need in the cell, the excess will be released back into the solution, and it can be mineralized. Microbial uptake of both DON and mineral nitrogen take place concurrently. Concurrently means in one time or together in soils. So therefore, direct competition between plants and microbes for both forms of nitrogen. So you can't say under those conditions which form is being preferred by the microbe. They can consume both kind of nitrogen. Now, leaching potential of DON. So like inorganic nitrogen, it also leaches out. DON may be lost by leaching. For example, typically 30 to 60% of all leached nitrogen from dairy farms and beef feedlots was DON. In fact, DON comprises about 25% of the nitrogen carried by Mississippi River into the Gulf of Mexico. So it is acting as a pollutant also. Thus, DON likely contributes to the environmental problems downstream. Downstream means in the streams. Now you can see this nitrogen cycle in Brady's book. I have taken Well and Brady from Well and Brady book. You can also see. And in this book, you got a figure, this figure, and this figure also includes soluble organic nitrogen in the nitrogen cycle. You can see it is here. It is here, microbial synthesis, soil organism, and then soluble organic nitrogen. This is here. So this is part of nitrogen cycle, and leaching loss can also occur. Now, chemical makeup of DON, as already told you, that it is mostly amino acids. So chemical constituent of DON originate from microbial and root exudates, litter leachates, as well as hydrolyzed insoluble organic matter. So these are the sources of DON. Compounds are both hydrophilic and hydrophobic. DON compounds. Some may be able to interact with inorganic colloids, but others would react with soil organic matter. 1/3 DON is in the form of amino compounds, amino sugars and amino acids. So these are the compounds which are directly taken by plants. More research needed to further ascertain the compounds that make up DON. So research is underway. People have identified certain chemicals or organic compounds, but many are yet to be found out. So nature is not completely known. People are trying to identify remaining compounds. Now you can see this one more paper came in 2012. So past, present, and future of organic nutrients. If you are interested to know more about this, you can find this paper, Marshner's Review in Plant and Soil. So this paper concludes that plants are mixotropes with an inherent ability to use organic nutrients via direct uptake or added by exoenzyme mediated degradation. So anyhow, nutrients are taken up in organic form also, particularly nitrogenous compounds. Same paper deals about it. You can see this. You have got organic matter in the soil. and then decomposition of organic matter or mineralization happens. So this is very complex material, organic matter. And in the beginning, the proteins and peptides uh, produce polymers. Polymers. Polymers of proteins and peptide are produced in the beginning. Then oligomers, these are di to tetrapeptides, means compounds are getting simpler from organic matter. And then after oligomers, monomers means amino acids are produced, and then ammonical nitrogen and nitrate nitrogen. Suppose if these two are not there, nitrate and ammonical nitrogen is not there in the soil. So this paper suggests that plant will preferably take up monomers. Amino acids can be taken up by the plant. Even oligomers can be taken up by plants, and polymers can also be taken by plants. So you can see the variety of organic compounds, organic nitrogenous compound that can be taken up by plant before they come to wait for ammonium and nitrate availability. So you can see plant nitrogen sources expanded to include nitrogen polymers and oligomers. Root-derived enzymes contribute to depolymerization, but organic polymers and oligomers are also directly incorporated into root cells, means they are taken up. So you can see if a plant is going to die in the want of ammonium and nitrate, if they are not there, it would like to live. Okay, I will take up the raw material. I will take up the raw food. If you don't have cooked food sometimes, and you are hungry and you have no options to get the food cooked, then you can eat raw material also. Sometimes people can eat raw material. So same way it is also eating raw material, and it is not new. As early as in 1911, Hutchinson and Miller, they did one experiment on organic nutrition. Suppose in one jar, this is some structure where plants are grown in greenhouse. So you can see in this case, ammonium sulfate was supplied as nitrogen source. And in one case, urea was supplied. In another case, acetamide. So acetamide will give organic nitrogen. This is a form of organic nitrogen. And then guanidine hydrochloride, this is also organic nitrogen, sodium aspartate or whatever it is, aspartate, and peptone. These are organic nitrogen sources, and it was grown in solution. Other nutrients were there, except this nitrogen was different in all the other containers. So, and the conditions were made axenic. Axenic means a culture in which only a single species, variety, or strain of organism is present and entirely free from all contaminating organism. So in this particular, in all these containers, the plant was the only living thing. Microbes were killed. There were no microbes in this. Microbes were killed and axenic conditions were maintained just to see that these organic compounds are not transformed to inorganic forms. So they should remain as such. There should not be conversion of organic nitrogen into inorganic nitrogen. Therefore, it was kept as axenic. And this was on pea plants and grown in axenic solution culture with different organic nitrogen compounds, shows effect of supplied nitrogen forms on shoot and root growth. So you can see growth, particularly in first 3 or 4, you can see growth is roughly same. Roughly same means the plant survived with the organic nutrition supplied through acetamide or guanidine hydrochloride. Similarly, one more experiment was also there on organic nitrogen. On the right side, on the left side, you got inorganic nitrogen. So this experiment also suggested that organic nitrogen, plant did not die and plant survived, and there was no difference in growth also. One more experiment proved this by Flake in 1965. This experiment also proved that plant can take up nitrogen or nutrients in organic form. This is excellent review on soluble organic nitrogen in agricultural soils by Murphy, 2000. So you can see the different columns in this table. First column is soil subgroup. There are different kind of soils, and these are the groups of the soil. Then texture of the soil. You can see it is from sandy loam to sandy clay loam or clay soil. So variety of soils are there. Different kind of soils are there, and different crops were grown. And you can see bulk density of the soil. And now you see the last two columns. One is mineral nitrogen and second is SON, soluble organic nitrogen. So you can see across all the soils and across all the crops, their values are quite similar. Their values are quite similar except one or two cases. So see the first case, 26, 29. This is mineral and soluble organic nitrogen pool, kg nitrogen per hectare. So this is kg and per hectare. You can see this is 26, 29, 35, 33, 37, 20, very close figures are there. So it means this is as important as your mineral nitrogen. These, you can go through it. These are the important points. You can read, I will share this presentation. The release of nitrogen through mineralization of soil organic matter and plant residue has long been identified as an important source of plant uptake. Plants are usually thought to take up ammonium and nitrate nitrogen, with nitrate being favored when it is available in abundance. Plants are able to take up urea directly in the absence of hydrolysis. There are reports that urea can be taken up by plants in molecular form also, but more slowly than mineral nitrogen. Pollard demonstrated that many plants are able to use SON, soluble organic nitrogen compounds, as their sole nitrogen source. In some cases, it can act as a sole nitrogen source. In some natural environments like temperate and Arctic heathlands, mineralization rates are too slow to supply all the nitrogen required by plants as nitrate or ammonium. So under those conditions, it is organic nitrogen which comes to the rescue of the plants. There are more and more evidences coming up, breaks in the cycle, dissolved organic nitrogen in terrestrial ecosystems. So in nutshell, in brief, what this paper says, it is the summary of this paper here by NEF 2003. DON is found in almost every terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. DON can be a short circuit. Short circuit means your mineralization is not complete. And before completion of the mineralization into ammonium and nitrate, it is taken up by the plants. Therefore, it is short circuit. In terrestrial nitrogen cycle, when plants take up some organic forms of nitrogen directly from the solution, without the need for microbial mineralization. DON can leak, means leaching can occur from ecosystems despite high demands for nitrogen in plants and microbes when some forms of DON are flushed from ecosystems. DON's roles as both a leak and a short circuit is possible because DON contains multiple forms of organic nitrogen. You can see here, this is short circuit, you can call it. Organic matter is added to the soil. Here you can see organic matter. It is attacked by the microbes, and then it is converted into ammonical form or nitrate form, and they are taken up by the plants. And these ammonium and nitrate both can go for leaching. Dear students, besides nitrate, you will also find ammonium leaching is also there. So on the right side, you can say soil organic matter. It is attacked by microbe and it is converted into ammonium and ammonical ion and nitrate ion and taken up by plants and can go for leaching also. But there is a short circuit here. These microbes can produce DON, and this DON can be taken up by plant. So there is no need for this long circle. It is a shortcut, you can see. Plant amino acid uptake, soluble nitrogen turnover, and microbial nitrogen capture in soils of grazed Arctic salt marsh. So there are thousands of papers which prove it. So overall, as a student, you can remember that it is not inorganic nitrogen. Some plants take up organic nitrogen, that is dissolved organic nitrogen or soluble organic nitrogen. So this ends this lecture here. If you have your questions, you are welcome. So I just show you slides. If you have any doubt, anything you want to discuss, you can discuss here. So at least you can read three pages from Brady's book here. These 608 to 609 page. However, I suggest you to read every page of this book. So anything you want to ask?
Sir, how urea can be directly uptaken by the plant?
So this is taken up in molecular format actually. When you add urea into the soil, it is dissolved. It is dissolved. Once it is dissolved, it will be part of the soil solution. It will be in the solution, but it will be whole urea molecule, and it can be taken up by plants by diffusion. It can diffuse into the plant cells, but the rate of diffusion is very, very slow. So it is taken up in molecular form at very insignificant quantity. You can see, I'll show you. See, similarly, if you see boric acid, I gave you example, it is taken up in molecular forms. And one scientist reported that urea can be taken up in directly by the plant. But it is not the main course to get the nitrogen. Plants are able to take up urea directly in the absence of hydrolysis. If there is no hydrolysis or poor hydrolysis, under those cases, it can take up urea. But that is very small quantity of the urea. But you can't say that plant cannot take up urea. They can take up urea. If you are interested to know more on this, we can see the reference, this Harper 1984. And for this, we need to go to this paper. This is the paper published in Biology and Fertility of Soils and Soluble Organic Nitrogen. At the end of this paper, we can find out this reference by Harper. Any other point? So at least you got some new information that there is something SON and DON is taken up by plants. Plants can take up DON. It is not just plants take up nutrients in ionic form. They can take nutrients in molecular form, particularly amino acids and amino sugars can be directly absorbed by plants. So this suggests like this, and particularly in organic systems. Now we have very good scope of organic farming, where people criticize organic farming. Okay, plants do not recognize difference whether ammonium is coming from fertilizer or it is coming from organic manure. So now we can give them answer that nitrogen is also taken up in organic form, particularly in organic systems where mineralization is slow and your availability of mineral nitrogen is less. So under those conditions, it could be an important mechanism to take up nitrogen by the plants. So we go to the second link now.